It's 2025, and whether you're building Edgar Markov for the first time this year or you want to upgrade your older deck, we got you covered. This video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now you can pre-order Innistrad Remastered, Ether Drift, or find a vast number of other great items on their website. Remember, shipping is free in the US if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles. Just look in the description or the comment section below for direct links to their site. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to the first episode of a new series on Heroes and Legends. Basically, I love playing Commander, and I wanted to make a series that looked at Commander deck lists for popular or newer Commanders. I thought we would start with Edgar Markov, since it is a very highly played Commander, and it's getting reprinted in Innistrad Remastered. Many more players are going to have an opportunity to build around this card in the coming months, and this video hopefully will give you some ideas as to which direction to go with your build. This, of course, is just one example of a deck around the card, but obviously feel free to tweak and change the list to make it feel like your own. Quickly before we get into it, though, I do want to say thank you to one of our gold patrons, and that is Mark Vonbank. Mark, thank you so much for all your support on Patreon. I truly appreciate it. I could not do this without viewers like yourself. Thanks for all the support you've shown the channel. And now, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, here's the Commander, Edgar Markov, red, white, black, and 3, legendary creature, Vampire Knight, 4/4. It has Eminence. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. This has first strike. It has haste, and when it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So not only does Edgar give you 1/1 black vampire creature tokens for you to go wide, it also increases the size of your vampires by giving +1/+1 counters. Haste means it can attack right away when it comes out. The first strike lends itself to having the card be more resilient in combat too, which is awesome. So the build around this card I've created is going to try to win in different ways. You're going to see a lot of vampires with different abilities, with lots of different ways to make them bigger so you can have a dominant army on the battlefield. But you'll also see an aristocrats theme here too. With Edgar making tons of tokens, you will have creatures to sacrifice for value. We even have some infinite combos in the deck in case all else fails. So let's take a look at the 99. We have one Planeswalker, and that is Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. This card does a lot of things that you will want to do with this build. It makes a creature bigger, gives Death Touch. Those things allow you to keep pressure on. It also provides Lifelink, which is a sub-theme in the deck. It lets you sacrifice creatures, which will be important. And it can even remove a creature in your way at times. Next, we have a couple economical small vampires, Gifted Aetherborn and Vampire Nighthawk. Since the deck is extremely creature heavy, the Death Touch will help clear a path on the battlefield and keep opponents off your back if you are running behind. I wanted to cram a lot of vampires in this deck and go as lean as possible when it comes to other spells, so you will see a lot of vampires with abilities. Let's move on to the next one, an Oathsworn Vampire. This one I think is just unique, and I like it because it's persistent. You're going to be gaining a lot of life with this deck, so if it's in your graveyard, it's going to feel like you're drawing an extra card that turn. Next we have Drana, Liberator, Malakir, and Rakish Heir. These are a couple examples of cards that will reward you for being aggressive. You should have a big army of vampires with support cards that will make them bigger and even give you a benefit if they are blocked or die in combat. So these two creatures will bolster that aggressive strategy. You may have a lot of vampires, but if all goes to plan, you should also have a lot of life. Champion of Dusk potentially could let you draw a lot of cards, but to me this is a card that is nice to have if you fall behind on board state. In fact, it might be better if you're just using it to draw a small amount of cards when you need to hit some heat to catch up. At times it might be a dead card, but I wanted to make sure we had enough card draw options in the build. And here we have 3 creatures that can remove your opponent's creatures. This deck has other means of removal as well that's not attached to creatures. But because casting vampires is so important, I wanted creatures that could provide ways to clear a path whenever possible. Anawan the Rune Sage is delightfully one-sided in this deck. Patron of the Vein also helps to grow the size of your army, while Ruthless Lawbringer has you sacrifice a creature, which will be important too. This next group of creatures all provide power and toughness increases for vampires, but some of them do more than just that. Bloodline Keeper can create tokens, and Edgar Charmed Groom can as well. Plus the card is super persistent. And here are more examples of creatures that make your vampires bigger, but again, in most cases, they do more than just that. Captivating Vampire can steal creatures and turn them into vampires. Markov Baron has Convoke if you need it. Legion Lieutenant is pretty straightforward. And Stormkirk Captain gives your vampires first strike to make them even deadlier in combat, especially the ones with Death Touch. Now we begin to see the Aristocrat strategy unfold some more. Here are 2 cards that will allow you to sacrifice creatures. Viscera Seer is especially efficient at that, but Indulgent Aristocrat will also put +1/+1 counters on your vampires when you activate the ability. And here are some of the payoffs for when your creatures die, but like most creatures in the deck, they can be flexible. Butcher of Malakir can act as removal, Cordial Vampire can grow your creatures, Crossway Troublemakers is awesome with Stormkirk Captain, and it can also help you draw cards. As for Blood Artist and Falconwrath Noble, damage is always good, but you will see more payoffs for these cards in a moment. More of the same here, whether you sacrifice creatures or you just lose some in combat, you will find value for sure with Vein Ripper, Vengeful Blood Witch, Cruel Celebrant, and Elenda the Dusk Rose. Now these next 3 cards, Malakir Blood Witch, Sanctum Seeker, and Twilight Prophet, all of them make your opponents lose life, which is nice if the battlefield is already gummed up or you're behind on board presence. They all let you gain life as well. Twilight Prophet can also get more cards in your hand. And now here comes the fun part with some payoffs for hurting your opponent. Bloodletter of Aclazotz is awesome in this build. Florian Valdarin Scion almost lets you tutor in lots of circumstances. And Vampire Socialite makes your army bigger. Okay, on to the combos I promised. Bloodthirsty Conqueror and Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Once triggered, you got an infinite loop, but this is not the only way to combo off to win the game. Let's move on to some enchantments. Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. You probably saw these coming, but they had more ways to get the infinite combo on the battlefield. As for other enchantments, we have some to buff your token production like Anointed Procession and Caretaker's Talent, while these 4 enchantments all make your army stronger. Cathar's Crusade and Shared Animosity are solid cards, plus Stensia Masquerade is another way to give your creatures first strike, and Warleader's Call can do direct damage. Our last enchantment, Phyrexian Arena, is a great card draw spell. And the life loss really shouldn't hurt us in most cases with all the ways to gain life in the build. Okay, before we get to the sorceries, just a quick reminder, this video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now you can pre-order Innistrad Remastered as well as Ether Drift on their website. Plus they have a whole lot of other items, magic related and otherwise. Remember, if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. And if you're looking for a direct link to their site, just check out the comment section or the description below. I do have links posted in both of those places. And now, without any further ado, let's get back to the deck list. Okay, on to the sorceries. New Blood can steal a creature and make it a vampire, while the other 2 cards here, Olivia's Wrath and Ruinous Ultimatum, also let you clear a path for your army. Aside from that, I threw in Demonic Tutor to help track down a combo piece. It's just a solid card in general. And the last sorcery, Exsanguate, is a good finisher, especially in a board stall. Now let's look at some instant removal. We have classic pinpoint removal cards here in the form of Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, and Anguish Unmaking. Urge to Feed also can increase the size of your vampires. Here's a few more removal options. I always loved Boros Charm's versatility, plus Despark and Mortify are just 2 more solid forms of pinpoint removal. Village Rites is here as another way to sack a creature, plus it lets you draw 2 cards. And our last instant is Teferi's Protection, because why not? As for artifacts, first we have more ways to buff the size of your vampires. I love Banner of Kinship. This new card will be great in these builds. Patchwork Banner is also a mana rock, and Vanquisher's Banner lets you potentially draw a lot of cards. Next I added Boros, Orzhov, and Rakdos Signet. I always like the Signets in Commander decks, and if they fit in the build, I typically use them. I also worked 2 talismans in here, Hierarchy and Indulgence. I went with the ones that gave black in another color, since black is the primary color in the deck. And finally, for artifacts, we have Arcane Signet and Sol Ring, because we are, after all, playing Commander. But anyway, let's move on to lands. Now, some of these are expensive, but I didn't include some of the more ridiculous ones, like the original dual lands, so obviously adjust this mana base based on what you have available. If you have original duals, awesome. If you don't have something that you see here, it can be replaced. First, though, we have Bojuka Bog, which is always good to have on hand. Fall to the Archangel is here for its ability, which is especially great if your creatures have first strike. Valdarin Estate can make blood tokens, which is nice. Cavern of Souls, Path of Ancestry, Secluded Courtyard, Unclaimed Territory. These 4 lands all bring value because of the huge amount of vampires in the build. And yeah, I did it. Aren Mesa, Bloodstained Mire, and Marsh Flats. Not everybody has fetches. I like them because they do thin the land out of your deck, but they can be replaced if you don't own them. And same with Shocklands. I have Blood Crypt, Godless Shrine, and Sacred Foundry. Now these aren't as expensive as they used to be, but still, they are replaceable if you don't have them on hand. And sure, I included Luxury Suite, Spectator Seating, and Vault of Champions as well. These lands come into play untapped if you have 2 or more opponents, so of course they're great in Commander, but again, they can be a little pricey, so use what you have available. Next, we have a couple more color fixing options in the form of Command Tower and Savai Triumph. I do like that the Triumphs have cycling, and they are fetchable too. Finally, we got some basic lands, 4 plains, 4 mountains, and 5 swamps. So that's going to do it for the build. Hopefully this will give you some ideas if you decide to build around Edgar Markov, or maybe you're looking for an update to your deck for 2025. Let me know in the comments below what you play in your Edgar builds, or maybe what you would like to play if you're building a deck. And also let me know which commanders you'd like to see in future videos. Until next time though, hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.